Welcome to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Kathan. And if you're a woman who has struggled to navigate deep life transitions with truth, resilience, and creativity, this episode is for you. Drawing on 2 decades of personal growth, spiritual wisdom, and nervous system healing, today's guest creates spaces where women can release outdated roles and return to their feminine power. She's a former corporate HR leader turned feminine alchemist, weaving grounded experience with soul deep presence. Please help me welcome Anya Fileva. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. It's so good to be here with you.
I've had the opportunity to connect with Anya and be in her presence over the last several months. And when we decided to bring this conversation forward, I knew that she was somebody that would just bring so much value to the women in my listenership. And I'm so, so pleased that you're here because I know that you have so many nuggets to offer. You have so many gems to share. And I want to delve right into the journey. You transformed from the corporate world into the world of entrepreneurship. And I know as a woman that is not an easy thing. And it's one of those transitions that can be very challenging. Can you share a little bit first what inspired you to do that? And then share a little bit about the becoming of this alchemist that you are these days?
Oh, Stephanie, thank you so much for asking. It's really is a journey, right? And it started so many years ago. Back when I was a teenager, I always knew I wanted to do something more. So there was always this inspiration. Even when we were flying over the ocean from Ukraine to United States, I always thought like, I'm coming to a new country. I'm going to make a difference. So there's always that inner voice knowing that I wanted to help. I wanted to inspire and make a difference. But then, I also wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be a good girl. I wanted to be loved, fit in, and have people like me. And everybody said to me, when you going to get a real job? And so I did, right? And I have been in corporate America, 25 years, right? And so the journey began ever since I started in corporate America, because it took me 15 years to get comfortable to even sit at the desk, right? Sit at the desk and do the thing. When I needed to step away, I had to ask permission. I wasn't used to this, right? I wanted to be creative. I wanted to talk to people, and I would always get in trouble. But the desire, this really need to fit in truly drove me, even though I always had that, that feeling, that calling that I want to do something else. And I think I jumped from job to job to job to job so many times until once I even moved across the country from New Jersey to Colorado in yet another attempt to give yet another shot to this corporate America, because I wanted to make it work so badly, even though everything in me was like screaming, you have to do something else. That, of course, didn't work out so well. I was given only one day to move 1,800 miles. So I knew it was just not going to be the good thing for me. But I kept going until one day, honestly, I was sick. I wasn't sleeping. I was having panic attacks. And I think I started asking myself questions. Is this how I want my life to be? Right. And this is when I started to take those steps, take steps to figure out who I was. And that wasn't easy, right? Figuring out who I was not easy, because for so many years, I tried to fit in into the mold and try to fit in of everybody else's expectations. And I just didn't know who I was. So, starting the feminine alchemist, where, my desire is to be a guide, to be supported, to help women believe in themselves, creating the inspirational garments like t-shirts, loungewear. It took a moment, by elimination, trying different things, trying to put myself online, trying to create a course, and just doing little steps and figuring out who I was. It's just all about taking that, one little step. I realized it wasn't about completely leaving a career or making this drastic change like I thought I needed to do. It was all about taking little steps to figure out who I was. And that kind of led me to, growing into this new role or new identity that I've been craving. And I call it the alchemist because the feminine alchemist, because I do truly want to embrace the femininity, which I was always running on masculine mode in the corporate world. And the alchemist, because I have this massive draw to the spiritual world coming from analytical world. And the alchemy is that beautiful word of becoming from caterpillar to the butterfly, which is the end goal, to really express who I am and help others along the way on the same journey.
I love all that you shared right there. And I picked up a couple of nuggets that I just want to go over. One of them was you didn't really know where your path was leading. You just knew it had to be somewhere else than where it was. And you didn't just like set a pin in a map and say, okay, I'm going to jump from here to here, even though you moved across the country. Energetically and spiritually, you were just like, I'm just going to show up. I'm going to continue to take one step in the right feel good direction every day and trust that it's going to get me where I'm going. And as you took those steps, it sounds to me like you were able to experience that transformation firsthand that you bring into the world in the message that you share. That journey that you made was true alchemy. When you're going from that corporate bro energy, man dominated space into a feminine space, one of the things that I notice is as we move from space to space with grace, sometimes there's a lot of dissing going on. There's a lot of people sharing their opinions, calling you crazy, saying you're never going to make it, telling you all of those stories. How were you able to just shed them and kind of continue on your path? Do you have some tips for us on that? Because we would love to hear them.
Oh my gosh, I love that what you said, right? There's definitely a lot of people, once you know that you really want to pursue your desire. You may not even know what your desire is, but you just know there's something bigger and better. It's interesting how many people will come out of woodwork to share their unsolicited advice that you never asked, right? So the one thing that I learned, at least, what worked for me, was taking one step at a time. I used to think that in order to transform, change career, be happy, I needed to know the roadmap, every single step, the end destination, right? I just knew I needed to have all of this mapped out. But what I realized, when you take one step, the next step, then the next step, you'll know the steps. As long as you're taking one little step at a time and trust in the inner guidance and the little quiet voice that sometimes you really want to, quiet down, that's important. But in terms of those folks who really well-wishers, they really care, right? Could be a couple of things. They truly care, but the only way they know how to play safe is by having a corporate job. And a lot of times people will say, stick with a corporate, that's safe. But if you're going to be real, there is no safety, there is no security. And, nobody's going to take you in and care for you. So the one way I deal with those folks is I want to have compassion, right? Even though my initial response when I hear those recommendation and advice, I get a little frustrated, but then I switch to compassion because they mean well. Just have to remember they still mean well. And I also seek for people who are like-minded. So what I do is I surround myself, whether it's at workshops or our group, when we write in the book, I surround people who are on the same journey, have the same goals, same ideas, and they naturally, by being around, like I drew support, inspiration, and know I'm on the right path. So I try to have this supportive community be larger than maybe my friends and family who are not there, right? So it's just like changing the environment, right? The one thing that I heard is if the flower doesn't bloom, change the environment, not the flower. And I recognized that I was trying to change myself to thrive in the environment that didn't fit me in, right? That I couldn't blossom there. So they changed the environment into having this loving women who may be struggling, or maybe they already succeeded. So I surrounded myself more with those women who have been on a journey, starting their journey, or got to the end destination. So the voices of the past were not as loud.
I love that. And through the years, I have discovered the power of community. It is really important. What you just highlighted is such an important, powerful strategy when it comes to making more ease in your transitions, right? Because when you surround yourself with people who support you, you are sharing in their energy instead of trying to force something by trying to fit in an environment that doesn't nourish you and doesn't actually feed your soul, and instead it drains you. Such a powerful thing. So as a woman, do you find that it is challenging to create this new identity? Because as women, we have like this programmed identity in society, right? We're the homemakers and the nurturers and the caretakers of all things dirty laundry and dish related. Like we have all of these things that are expected of us, right? And we all do those things. Well, some of us do. I do. I wear all of the hats, And still, I have to create the identity of who I want to show up as in the world. So how were you able to carve out that identity of who you are without hanging on to the labels of somebody's this or somebody's that or someone's something, that feminine power? How do you get it? Where's the button? We want some.
Oh, I love that. It's so interesting. Women wear so many hats. And I do feel like society just tells us, who we need to be. And recently, like with aging and hormonal changes, I started to really kind of question a lot of those identities. You know, is this the identity that I wanted, or is this the identity that everybody tells me I should have just because I'm a woman? And one day I woke up and I was like, wait, I don't think I know who I am. I know who I should be, or everybody told me I should be. Okay, a wife, a mother, a corporate go-getter, a provider, and but who am I? Right? And I think for some time I did forget what made me me, right? And I think little by little, I started to remember who I used to be as a teenager, as a child, in my 20s. I remember the things that made me happy, made me me, and that was playfulness. It was just having fun. And I think it was just chipping away at kind of identifying the roles that you took that was not yours, that you were trying to fit in and do the right thing, and then figuring out what you used to be or what you used to like, and just peeling like layer by layer of who you are. Right. And there's a lot of layers, and every day I seem to discover new things I used to like. And I also remember some of the things that happened that hardened me, that made me this particular person who lost her identity. And I start remembering the events where I tried to please people, I tried to fit in, and I shut down certain parts of myself, like trust in my intuition. That was such a big part of me, but I shut it off because I was like, wait, people said I shouldn't listen to it. I should listen to my brain. So I think it's been a journey of peeling the onion to get to the identity by remembering things that I used to like, and also trying different things. Writing a book, taking a dance class, going for a walk, just reading something, and just resurrecting years of, desires that have been kind of put on the back burner just because I needed to wear all these hats that we as women are expected to have.
So you and I are doing this book project together, and it's been so fun to learn about you and your message and your story. The book is called Unbreakable. It is coming out next month, and we are over the freaking moon excited about it. But in the energy of Unbreakable, there is a persistence, right? It must be maintained. And if you're listening, like, you might have wished that things were different. You might have thought of giving up lots of times, but you're still here. And that you're listening now tells us that you are still in persistence. You still have that great motivation and momentum going for you. Let's talk about that energy for a minute. Was there times when you wanted to give up? Were there times when you thought, it's just easier. It's just easier to go back to what I know, or easier to go back to the safety? Or why am I doing this? That was a big question. Like, why am I doing this? Those were some of the things that I asked myself on my own entrepreneurial journey. So in those moments, first of all, did you have moments like that? And second of all, how were you able to keep showing up in that trust?
What a great question, Stephanie. I love that because I feel like I've had so many moments, so many moments like this. I had this craving and desire for entrepreneurial journey, to self-express, to be authentic. And then it gets shut down, by people who love me, because they don't think it's the right thing. Or, I start something and gosh, it really doesn't work out the way that I want it. Right. So it feels like, and then somebody kindly enough will point it out. Look, you failed. Right. So those moments happen all the time. And there is thoughts that I have, oh my gosh, that would be so much easier to give up and just do the right, the regular thing that, feels familiar and safe, quote unquote. But the thing is, even the moments when I gave into the temptation, right, and I will go back, the feeling and the intuition and the nagging of, hey, you have to go back to who you are is not going away. So, at the moments when we feel like we fail, oh, I felt like I failed, I didn't succeed, I spent way too much money yet again, oh my gosh, I don't know where I'm going. It's like the resilience and perseverance, because every day I'm reminding myself, if I go back, I don't know how much years I have to live, but can I envision myself living miserably for the rest of my life? And I think is that inner calling, inner knowing that I really want to pursue happiness, authenticity, truth, is just helps me persevere. And, listening to inspirational speakers and knowing that failing is not really failing, is an opportunity to grow, and just is that perseverance. Resilience is one of my core qualities. And it's just, sometimes when I feel like I failed, I will have a day of a pity party, or maybe sometimes more, and then I will regroup. What did I learn? Maybe take a little break and start again, right? It's just a normal process. Very few people succeed overnight. And the trick is just never giving up. There is a book that I was just recently started reading. It's about midlife transitions, right? And the woman, Barbara, I can't remember her last name, she talks about the first half of your life belongs to nature, and the second half of your life belongs to you. And the first half of the life, that's when we wear all of these hats, mothers, workers, wives, and we do the right thing. And then eventually we start asking ourselves those questions: who am I and what do I want to do? And that's when the journey begins. We start doing the things, writing books, creating a business, traveling the world, whatever that is. And it may not be an easiest journey. And failure is never a failure. I think we just framing it as such to keep us safe is
I
just
love
another
that.
opportunity.
You highlighted on two power questions that I just want to repeat. Who am I? And what was the other one? Who do I want to be?
Hmm? Yeah.
Those things, when you ask your inner self those things, you will get an answer. But the thing is, most of us never ask because we're always programmed, right, to ask, what do you need? What do you want? How can I serve you? Is there anything I can get for you? Do you need anything? Right? That's like our love language for the first whole half. And then when we do ask those questions, we're surprised, right? When we hear an answer, we're like, who said that? What was that? Did I really hear that? Oh, I'm hearing voices now. Great. If you will listen to that inner voice when you ask those questions, you might be surprised and delighted by what you hear back. And you might learn some new things about you, right?
Yeah.
So cool. This conversation has been amazing. Anya, where can people go to learn more about you?
Oh, that's a great question, Stephanie. Thank you. I just started a brand new Instagram called feminine.alchemist. I'm in the process of creating my website, but for now, I started a new uh, Instagram page where, it's about truth, resilience, and creativity, right? Because I feel like I'm truly embracing who I am. So I'm rebranding myself, right? And taking that one little step at a time. So, and again, I'll be, growing from here, but that's where, the Instagram is probably the best way for now.
And be sure to be on the lookout for Anya's new book, and you'll see me in there too. It's called Unbreakable, and that is going to be released September 2025. If you're listening to the replay and it's past that date, head on over and get your copy. And the link to Anya will be in the description of this interview, so that you can find her easily and tune into her energy, because once you do, you will be so glad that you did. It's been an honor to be with you today. Do you have any last message for the listeners? Like, what would you tell somebody who might just be hearing that call for the first time, that call of their creativity or that identity wanting to come out?
Oh gosh, I'm so happy you asked, right? The one thing I would want to say is if there is a calling, a nudging, something's happening that you want more, and if you don't know what it is, it's okay. Keep going, right? Initially, people would ask me, what do you want to be if money is not an object, if money is not an issue? And in the beginning, I was like, I have no idea, because we spend so much time of our life serving other people that we forget what we want. So if you don't know what you want, that it's a perfect place. That's when you start trying. But don't let it stop you from trying. You don't have to know what you want just yet. Just keep taking the small steps, one step at a time, of trying something new and listening to intuition, and the next step will appear. I promise you, because has been my journey, from not knowing to taking the little step at a time to get there.
I love this. You've been listening to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Kathan. We've been joined today by Anya Fileva. She is amazing. Please go tune into her. You'll be so glad you did. And until we meet again, keep shining in your brilliance. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Stephanie.